Oh, here's a good one for you if you're bored. As you know, Nancy Pelosi is the most bizarre woman in the history of American government. Nothing makes sense. The big hammer, the anger, the rolling eyes, the lips. She claims that she has had hallucinations and that she swore that she encountered the spirit of Susan B. Anthony. Well, listen to this, clip 13.
I felt really crowded on my chair. It was packed. It was crowded. I was squeezed in. I never had that feeling before. And then all of a sudden I realized that sitting on that chair with me in that room were all the suffragettes. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott, Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth, Alice Paul. They were all on that chair with me. It was very tight. And I could hear them say, "At last, we have a seat at the table."
Here's the most oppressed woman in America, Nancy Pelosi, finally having a seat at the table. It's really nice to see that a woman of such humble background, with no advantages as a youth, who has come from such poverty, with such deprivation at every turn, such deprivation has finally gotten a seat at the table. It's also interesting to know that Nancy Pelosi was third in line to have her hand on the nuclear football. You have President, Vice President, Speaker of the House. This woman who swore that she had an hallucination. She just said this, by the way, at the Washington University Commencement on May 20th, 2012. She admits now that she was having a hallucination and that she had her hand on the nuclear trigger. This is the woman third in line to take over the country. This is what you get with the Democrats. You can't make this stuff up. Could you play it again? It's the breathlessness that I really appreciate. Let me hear it again for effect.
I felt really crowded on my chair. It was packed. It was crowded. I was squeezed in. I never had that feeling before. And then all of a sudden I realized
it was
sitting
Bonnie
on that
Frank.
chair with me in that room
was Bonnie Frank.
Were all the suffragettes. Elizabeth Cady Stanton,
Bonnie Frank.
Lucretia Mott, Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth, Alice Paul. They were all on that chair with me. It was very tight. And I could hear them say, "At last, we have a seat at the table."
This is astonishing. If we lived in a sane country, she would probably be, I don't know, they'd set in the park police and arrest her, put her into a mental hospital. They'd have to do an evaluation. Anyone to tell a story like this in such a position of power, you'd have to have her evaluated, a psychiatric evaluation. Let me hear this again, because I can't believe that is she doing this in jest at some kind of joke? She's comparing herself to a suffragette? A suffragette? She should be talking about the military jets that she used for free for years and years for herself and her family. Not the suffragettes, but the free military jets. Play that again.
As he was graciously welcomed, as I mentioned, I felt really crowded on my chair. It was packed. It was crowded. I was squeezed in. I never had that feeling before. And then all of a sudden I realized that sitting on that chair with me in that room were all the suffragettes. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott, Susan B. Anthony, Sojourner Truth, Alice Paul. They were all on that chair with me. It was very tight. And I could hear them say,
"At last, we have a seat at the table."
Oh, God. Oh, God. I haven't had a good laugh like this in years on the show. To think this woman had her finger on the nuclear. This woman, we need a psychiatric evaluation. We need intervention somewhere in the Democrat Party. Can you believe this? She swears that the spirit of Susan B. Anthony spoke to her in the White House. I have to play it. Look, I'm sorry to make as much of this as I am. I'm terrified to believe that these people could win and she could be Speaker of the House again. How do you feel about Nancy Pelosi swearing that she was crowded in a chair by Susan B. Anthony and the other suffragettes? Does that bother you in any way to think that she could possibly be the Speaker of the House again? No, it doesn't bother me. What bothers me more is that she's bankrupted the Treasury with Obamacare and her other acts with the big hammer. That worries me more than her psychosis. And by the way, I think that she's about as deranged as Big Chin Gigante, who walked around in the bathrobe in the West Village. Who would believe this, though? Is she trying to say that she's partially touched or what? Have you noticed who they're hiring to give commencement speeches lately? They're scouring the bottom of the pond. The other day, I saw someone speak here at Dominican College in the Bay Area. I was